This is a very simple self-explanatory picture that tells about the components of the environment. And you can see here all the components of the environment are ending up with a common suffix called as a sphere. But you can see the four names, all of them are ending up with a common suffix called as sphere, right? So atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, and the fourth component called as biosphere, right? So the sphere is nothing but dimension of the environment, and it's a kind of an unit, but it is not an unit that you generally see in physics or chemistry or any of the other things. This here means the component of the environment, which is a dimension. So the first dimension that you see in the environment is atmosphere, where you can see in this picture right on the top, you can see atmosphere, which is comprised of air. Right? Atmosphere is nothing but air mixture of all the gases, like might be oxygen or carbon dioxide or sulfur dioxide or any of the gases, carbon monoxide, any of the gases that you can imagine. All of them are in that dimension of the environment, which is called as atmosphere. Then you can see down where you can see hydrosphere. As the name indicates, hydro stands for water, and that particular dimension of the environment where you can see all the water components or the liquid components is called as hydrosphere, right? Might be your oceans, rivers, lakes, pools, glaciers, all of them are water components or liquid components of your environment. That is the next biggest sphere. The next very big sphere on the environment that you can see is where you can see Earth. That is called as lithosphere. You can see in the picture the brown colored portion that is being represented, where you can see Earth, or which is having soil particles, rocks, minerals, metals. All of them come under lithosphere. And these are the three physical components of the environment. Let me repeat again: atmosphere, hydrosphere, and lithosphere. Right? All of these things you know. But what you might not be knowing, or what you have to know more important in this particular subject, is there is a fourth component in the environment which is dependent on the above three, the other three. And that fourth component, which is represented right at the center, you can see is called as biosphere. Right? Biosphere. Bio, as the name indicates, bio means life. That particular sphere or the dimension of the environment where you can imagine life existing is called as biosphere, right? Which means life exists in biosphere, or life is supported to be existing in biosphere. You can see this picture. Biosphere is a circular denotion that is being represented here. Doesn't mean to say that it is only so much. Biosphere can extend deep into the atmosphere, deep into the water, and deep into the earth also. But what is more important for me to make all of you understand, is you can see from biosphere there are three arrows that is being represented, which is interconnecting the other spheres with the biosphere, and that interconnection is in equilibrium. You can see it is a double-headed arrow. It is in equilibrium, which means there is a lot that we get from atmosphere, and there is a lot that atmosphere gets from biosphere. There is a lot that we get from, means biosphere gets from hydrosphere, and there is a lot that hydrosphere also gets from biosphere. Same way, there is a lot that biosphere gets from lithosphere, and there is a lot that lithosphere also gets from biosphere, which is an equilibrium, kind of a give and take policy, right? So we get, what we get from atmosphere, hydrosphere, and lithosphere. That is our living, right? We get air from atmosphere, we get water to drink from hydrosphere, and we get your food and food components or whatever you want, fuel, everything is from the lithosphere. In turn, what the physical components like atmosphere, hydrosphere and lithosphere gets from us is nothing but an equilibrium to be maintained or conservation. Right? By the way, what are all there in biosphere? Needless to say, anything that is living on this earth will exist in the biosphere component. Anything that is living, it can include human beings, animals, all the plants, can be even your microorganisms like bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites. You imagine anything that is living that is there in the central component, central shell that you can see called as biosphere. Now, since this is a multiple choice question paper, and I'm going to ask the questions in the multiple choice pattern, it is important that you know brief definitions so that you can remember. See these definitions. You can see atmosphere, the region surrounding the earth is known as atmosphere, and atmosphere is generally a mixture of gases surrounding the earth. All the gases you can imagine existing in atmosphere. Hydrosphere, all the water bodies, can be oceans, rivers, lakes, glaciers, ponds, etc. Lithosphere, uppermost part of the Earth's crust is known as lithosphere. It is the topmost portion. And lithosphere includes soil, soil particles, rocks, metals, can be even minerals, etc. And biosphere is a sphere which is dependent on the above three. Right? You can see a beautiful definition is given for biosphere. Life supporting mantle. Means it supports life. It is a mantle. It is a protective shell in which life is supported. And this extends, you can see the mantle of the earth extending from few kilometers into the atmosphere to the deep ocean. You can see life can exist deep into the atmosphere or deep into the ocean. Right? And you can see the last line, the region of the earth where life exists is known as biosphere. Life is supported in biosphere. Life exists in biosphere. That is a very, very important four definitions that you need to remember. Multiple choice is going to be simple. I might be asking in your multiple choice question paper, for example, I might be asking which of these components of the environment has water? Right? Atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, biosphere. And you know it is hydrosphere. Same way, I might be asking which of these components of the environment supports life. Right? You need to know that it is biosphere. So on. I can be playing around in this four definitions, at least 3 to 4 different types of questions I might be asking. So why you are studying this particular subject? What is the scope of this subject? What is the importance of studying this environmental studies? Right? Two big definitions are given. Don't worry about the size of the definitions or the size of the sentences. I'm going to read out, but I'm going to give a gist of this particular two paragraphs at the end. You can see environmental education is an integral process which deals with man's interrelationship with his nature and man-made surroundings, including the relation of population growth, pollution, resource allocation, depletion, conservation, technology, urban and rural planning to the total human environment. Now friends, if you see this first paragraph carefully, there is a very important word in the second line called as interrelationship. Now, if you recollect the first picture, that is what I told, that biosphere has that double sided arrow you can see, which is an equilibrium relationship. That is nothing but an interrelationship we have with the nature. Now, what is nature? Nature is nothing but the other three components which are put in the nature, which are the physical components. And everything is man-made surroundings, if you can imagine. Right? You can see the points written here in the third line onwards. Population growth, pollution, resource allocation, depletion, conservation, technology, and urban and rural planning. All of these points, five to six different points that is being represented, are human activities, if you can understand. You can ask a doubt out of the biosphere, why only human being is given important consideration. Why not an animal, or why not a plant, or why not a tree, or why not a bacteria or a virus or a fungi? The question is valid, but the answer is, out of all the living components that are present in the biosphere, the only living component which has the highest level of brain development and intellectual development is a human being, right? Compared to an animal or a plant or a tree or a bacteria or a virus or a fungi or a parasite, human beings are much evolved according to the evolution. And out of this much evolved nature of the human category or human population, human genetic makeup, right? The man's thinking process is very professional or highly evolved, right? Which has led to a lot of developmental activities as well. Uh, but at the same time, these developmental activities, which is out of the intellectual thinking process of the human being, has also unfortunately led to a lot of imbalance in the environment. Right? First imbalance that you can see is your population growth, right? Population growth is definitely human activity, right? Which is right in the hands of the human beings, but unfortunately it has erupted out, which is population growth. You can imagine even population is there in the case of animals also, but animals have their own cycling process, right? For example, you would have studied in the food chain in your school days. More the number of rats, there will be snakes which are eating the rats. More the number of snakes, there will be eagles that is eating the snakes, right? So more the number of eagles, there can be vultures that is going to balance. So anything that is growing in the environment, there will be one or the other predator for that animal. In the case of animal that I'm telling, but such a kind of a predatory food chain doesn't exist in the case of humans, right? If our population increases, there is no other component on our top which is going to eat us, right? So we are going to exist, and we are going to exist for long. Now, thanks to the medical sciences and the improvements that is happening in the world with reference to the medicines and all, population size is increasing tremendously, right? Death rate has come down and birth rate has increased, right? Population growth is a total human activity. Pollution, needless to say, is a human activity. Resource allocation and depletion, human activity. Conservation, human activity. Technology, purely human activity. And you can imagine urban and rural planning, all of them are human activities and human developed environment out of his or her intellectual thought process, which is very good. I don't say no, but there is something that is called as environment that also needs to be taken care of while this development keeps going on. So making you understand about this interrelationship and making you and become such engineers who value this interrelationship is the first scope and importance of this subject. You have to value the interrelationship. You have to make sure that you become an engineer who values the environment and its components, and who protects and conserves these components of the environment. I will relate to what I'm telling in a short while. Second point, if you see, environmental education is a study of the factors influencing the ecosystem, mental and physical health, living and working conditions, decaying cities and population pressure. And environmental education is intended to promote among citizens the awareness and understanding of the environment, our relationship to it, and the concern and responsible actions necessary to assure our survival and to improve the quality of our life. Right, you can see once again, there are so many factors that are influencing the ecosystem, the mental and the physical health, living and the working conditions, decaying cities and population pressure, which are all human activities, right? Unless and until you maintain an interrelationship properly with these components, progressing with the environmental components along is a very difficult task. And this education is intended to promote among all the citizens an awareness and understanding about the environment our relationship to it, and the concern and responsible action necessary to assure our survival and improve the quality of our life. Friends, I want all of you to concentrate on the last line, which is our survival and improving the quality of our life. Why I am giving so importance to these two words, which is survival and quality of life, is these two can quickly go to a task if there is any disturbance that happens to our environment. For example, the current condition, the current pandemic that the whole of the world is suffering, which is COVID-19, is a typical example of where the disturbances that happens in the environment can make our survival and our quality of life to drastically get disturbed. I hope all of you will accept this, that COVID-19, if you want me to explain what happened in COVID-19, is some crazy experimentation that has happened in Wuhan, China, or the related biotechnological experimentations that has happened, where some viral strains have become mutant and they are being released. Mutant viral strains are much dangerous, and one such mutant viral strain that has entered into the environment, right now I am telling what is the environment, which is air, right? It has entered into the air, which is nothing but atmosphere. It has entered into the atmosphere, atmospheric component of the environment, and it has started spreading and spreading and spreading and spreading, and worldwide it has spread within no time, right? All that is happening in the case of COVID-19 is viral particles are present in the air, and if someone inhales that or gets in touch with that, it enters into the system and it makes the last two components very, very difficult for us. It makes our survival a question, and it has tremendously decreased the quality of our life. Isn't it? The last 2 points are in problem right now. Our survival is a question. People are scared. People are worried. Many people are dying. Many people are getting hospitalized. People are taking medicines, right? People are getting scared. Same way, improving the quality of the life. Our quality of the life has tremendously decreased right now. We are scared, we have to wear a mask, we have to maintain social distancing, we cannot go into groups, you cannot meet people, right? You cannot be freely going around, you cannot go to the market as simply as you were going earlier. Quality of our life has become a problem right now. So why I am telling this example is something that you can relate very quickly, but something that you need to really understand also, that any disturbance that happens to the environment, or which is the components of the environment, which is atmosphere or hydrosphere or lithosphere, any disturbance that happens to any of these three physical components of the environment, the central circle is going to suffer, which is the biosphere is going to suffer. Out of all the components of the biosphere, human being suffers very, very badly. So unwanted pollutants present in the air, we are going to suffer. Unwanted pollutants present in the water, we are going to suffer. Unwanted components present in the lithosphere, we are going to finally suffer. You can ask a doubt whether the plants or animals or bacteria, are they suffering? No, they might not suffer as much as we suffer. Right? So we need to understand that our interrelationship with the other components, especially our interrelationship, the human being's interrelationship with the other components, is a very, very sensitive line. And unless and until a proper equilibrium is maintained, the balance becomes disturbing. Right? So this is a very, very important component that you need to understand, and this is the scope of this environmental studies. The importance of these studies is it makes you understand the interrelationship, and there is a difference between a layman understanding the interrelationship and a learned person like an engineer or a medical professional understanding this particular interrelationship. As an engineer, if you understand the interrelationship, right, you know that tomorrow, whatever technology that you are going to develop, whatever new engineering solution that you're going to give for the societal problems, it is in line with the environmental components, not out of the line or not against the environmental components. As I said, I'm going to relate with some examples. Just wait for some time. Now, the next important concept that you need to understand is what are the objectives of environmental education, right? 6 different objectives I'm going to mention. First 3 are there in this slide, next 3 in the next slide. So I'm going to read out the side heading and explain you so that you will understand it very, very easily. You can see the first objective. What are objectives? What does objective mean? Objectives are nothing but deliverables, right? The purpose with which this subject is being introduced and what is intended to be, taught to you, or what is intended that you learn from this particular environmental education. And the first objective of this study is being introduced to you and make you understand is that you need to get awareness. First and the foremost, friends, all of you will accept, first thing that you need to know is get aware about the problem, right? First you need to be aware. You can read, help individuals and social groups to acquire basic awareness of and the sensitivity towards the environment and its related problems. So first get sensitized. First know about the problem. Get aware about the problem. Next is developing knowledge. Right? You can read, to help individuals and social groups to acquire basic understanding of the environment, its associated problems, and their responsible role towards the betterment of the environment. Now friends, once you get awareness, second thing is you will be going deep into that particular problem. And once you go deep into the particular problem, you are going to develop knowledge of that particular problem, right? And as an engineer, developing knowledge is very easy for you, and it's very, very simple for you to get an understanding or overall picture of that particular problem. And that is the second objective that this environmental education wants to deliver to you. Third, very, very important, in my opinion, this is the most important objective, which is called as attitude. Attitude is a human property. It's an attribute for human psychology, right? Why this attitude is so important according to the environmental scientists is you need to have that feeling for the nature. You need to value that interrelationship that we have with the nature. You can see in this picture, in this slide, the boy very passionately hugging a tree is an attitude, right? That need not be taught, that comes naturally, and that attitude is very, very important, right? I don't know how many of you remember this studying in your school days. I'm pretty sure in your school days you would have heard or studied about something called as the Chipko movement. Can you recollect? Chipko movement. Chipko movement is one such movement where it happened long time before, where when the officials have taken a decision to cut down some 80 years or 90 years old tree trunks, the people in that particular area, they wanted to stop it because they valued the trees, and that's the name Chipko is being given. They have gone and they tied themselves around the trunk of the tree, right? They struck themselves around the trunk of the tree, and they challenged the officials, telling that if you want to cut the tree, first cut us down, right? That is an attitude, right? That need not be taught to anybody, that need not be explained to anybody. That is something that naturally needs to be present in everybody. So it helps, this attitude helps individuals and social groups to acquire social values, strong feeling of concern for the environment, and the motivation for actively participating in its protection and improvement. You need to be participating. You need to be sharing your knowledge, and caring for the environment has to be done. That is the next third very, very important objective of this particular subject. Fourth objective is skills, development of the skills. You can see, help individuals and social groups to acquire the skills for solving the environmental problems. right? Compared to any other individual, as an engineer, you are best to be known to have your technical skills, right? The problems that the environment is facing needs people like you and need technical solutions. It can be as simple as a problem like, for example, management of wet waste and the dry waste, or rejected waste, right? Management of pollutants in the water, management of pollutants in the air, management of pollutants in the soil, management of pesticide content in the soil, right? It can be as simple as these, which needs your skills. As an engineer, you can develop technical solutions for these problems. You can develop technical solutions for the problems only when you develop that attitude, first of all, when you know what are the components of the environment. Unless and until, as a developing engineer, if you don't know the components of the environment and what are the problems that the environment faces, it's of no use. It doesn't serve any purpose. So skills development is the next important objective that this subject is going to offer to you. And the fifth objective is evaluation ability. Now, who else can be a better evaluator than an engineer? An evaluator is a person who understands the problem, who uses his knowledge to split the problem into small problems and give solutions for the small problems and chip it together and give a bigger solution. So you have the technical skills to evaluate a problem, and you can evaluate the problem in a technical fashion and give a technical solution for the problem, right? So we read that to help individuals and social groups to evaluate environmental measures and education program in terms of ecological, political, economical, social, aesthetic and education factors. So you are going to take so many factors into consideration, like ecological, political, economical, social, aesthetic and education factors, and then give a technical solution for the problem. You will understand it slowly. The last but not the least, a very, very, very important objective of this particular subject is participation, right? Help individuals and social groups to develop a sense of responsibility and urgency regarding environmental problems to ensure appropriate action to solve those problems. Now you can see in this picture a group of school-going kids. Right, they are planting a tree, and you can see the happiness in their smile. It is a sense of accomplishment that they have done something to the nature or conservation of the nature, right? I'm pretty sure in your school days also, might be in your 8th standard or 9th standard, your school also, you would have been made to be a part of one or the other such social activities like Swachh Bharat Abhiyan or Clean and Green Campus or Swachhta Hi Seva or any of these government movements where you would have been made to clean. There will be no classes on that day, and you would have been made to clean the entire campus, or you would have been made to plant a tree and take a selfie with the plantation that you have planted, right? Something like that. That is nothing but a participation activity, right? People need to participate more, because it is not in hands of one person to solve the environmental problems. As a group, we have to go together. As a colony, we have to go together. As a huge population, we have to go together, and all of us have to contribute for the protection of the environment. And for contributing, it needs your participation. First of all, you need to participate. If someone says that I'm not going to participate, right, or they are going to be against these participations and all, it cannot be helped, right? So we have to participate. For example, all of you know, in morning times, BBMP comes with a collection van, garbage collection van, and it will be announced that wet waste will be collected on so and so day, dry waste will be collected on so and so day. They say you segregate the waste and give it to us, and you have to segregate. You should not use covers, polythene covers, right? There's so many announcements that they come with, right? All of you know that the society needs segregation of the waste, and which is a very, very important thing. There can be a random guy who says that I'm not going to segregate the waste. He might not give the garbage to the garbage van at all. He might throw it in an empty site, right? Nothing can be done to that person, right? Maximum thing that BBMP or any government body can do is fine him, right? There are people who pay the fine and still do the blunder, right? Nothing can be done to such people. Right? Only thing is they need to develop that attitude. They need to get educated about the problem. They need to develop the attitude, and they need to then participate into the social activities. So these are the six important objectives: awareness, knowledge, attitude, skills, evaluation ability, and participation, which are the six very important objectives that you need to know. So what is your role as an environmental engineer? First of all, let me clarify to you. Environmental engineer is not someone who is a different degree holder. Any engineer, irrespective of the stream, can be a mechanical engineer or a civil engineer or a triple E or an IS or EC or CS, automobile. Any engineer, whoever develops a technology which is in line with the environment, they are termed as environmental engineers by default. Of course, I do accept that there are institutions which give a separate BE and an MTech degree in environmental engineering, but doesn't mean to say that that other technocrats can't be environmental engineers. You also are environmental engineers by default because you are using your technology for protection of the environment, not the destruction of the environment. So the first role of an engineer is an environmental engineers are the technocrats who are committed to protect the human beings from the harmful effects of the environmental degradation caused by the pollution in the environment due to population growth, rapid industrialization and urbanization. So friends, you can see the 4 points that is being represented here: pollution, population growth, rapid industrialization and urbanization. You can see the 4 points are human activities. Pollution is human activity, population growth is human activity, rapid industrialization and urbanization are human activities. So, as an engineer, you are going to be committing yourself to protect the human beings from these harmful effects of the environmental degradation caused by pollution, environmental degradation caused by population growth, environmental degradation caused by rapid industrialization, environmental pollution caused by urbanization. That doesn't mean to say that I am against industrialization and urbanization. Yes, industrialization and urbanization are very important for the development of the nation and the improvement of the economy. But there is an environment which needs to be protected also along with industrialization and urbanization. Point number two, environmental engineers generally act as a bridge between engineering, technology, and biology. What does this mean? Right, you know engineering, you are learning engineering right now, you are developing your skills with reference to technology right now, you are understanding a little bit of biology also through this paper. So if you know engineering and technology and biology, you can bridge the gap between these domains and you can be a better individual tomorrow, right, to give technical solutions or engineering based solutions for the betterment of the society and such technologies which are friendly to the environment. Number three, environmental engineers basically make environment strategies like evaluation and environmental quality, steps for improvement in quality of water, air and food, as well as suggestions regarding the proper collection and disposal of solid and liquid wastes from the city. Friends, you can see for any human being existing, the first three things are important. The first three basic necessities in this point number three, I'm pointing at point number three. The first three important requirements for us is safe water to drink, safe air to inhale, and safe food to consume. Right? As an engineer, you are going to develop such strategies which are going to offer safe water, safe air, and safe food for the humans' welfare. Second important concern for us is waste, right? The waste that gets collected in your house, the waste that collected in the society, the waste that gets collected in the industry, right? How to manage the waste? You are going to give environmental protection pro skills, like engineering skills, that is going to be useful for proper collection of the solid waste, proper collection of the liquid waste, and segregation of the waste. And you can develop such engineering tools which can be very, very effective in solid and liquid waste management in a city or in a locality. Fourth one, environmental engineers do the design, construction and operation of the treatment facilities for water, air and solid waste. And these treatment facilities, which are designated by the environmental engineers, are mainly based on the assimilating capacity of lithosphere, atmosphere and hydrosphere. Friends, what does this point mean is you are going to develop technologies for this waste collection or waste management, or any other technology for that matter, whichever is technology that is going to be useful for the environment. You are going to develop such technologies based on the assimilating capacity of lithosphere, atmosphere and hydrosphere. Now what does this mean is, for example, you are going to be an engineer who is going to be appointed by a company or an organization, and you are being given a challenge to develop a technology for management of solid waste, for example. Just imagine an example. So as an engineer, you are going to develop a machine or develop a tool, or develop a IoT based platform or an app, or anything for that matter. You are going to develop a technology for proper collection of the solid waste and segregation of the solid waste. Imagine, as an engineer, you have developed a machine which is going to process the solid waste. Now, imagine if the machine that you have developed or technology that you have developed is no doubt processing the solid waste very, very effectively. But when it is processing the solid waste, imagine it is releasing greenhouse gases. Imagine the motor or a machine that you have developed is processing the solid waste very effectively, but unfortunately it is releasing greenhouse gases. Right, let me tell you in this point, if you don't know, greenhouse gases are very dangerous components, because greenhouse gases are known to cause environmental pollution once again. Greenhouse gases are known to cause holes in the ozone layer, right? You have developed a technology for management of the solid waste, which is very good, but unfortunately your technology is releasing some other pollutant in the environment, which is once again of no use, right? For example, refrigeration technology. Refrigeration technology is one of a breakthrough in the food industry, right? Refrigerators being used, the refrigerator that is being used is going to keep the food fresh for a long time, right? Cooling technology has really contributed a lot for the food industry. But unfortunately, refrigeration, the earlier refrigeration technology was known to be releasing lots of greenhouse gases into the environment. So many of those refrigerators that were developed in the earlier 80s and 90s have become obsolete because they release greenhouse gases. And these greenhouse gases were found to be causing tremendous problem to the environment. Right? So such technologies are going to be having very small shelf life. They are not going to be existing for too long. So you have to develop such technologies which are going to have good shelf life, for which you need to know that your technology has excellent assimilating capacity for lithosphere, atmosphere and hydrosphere. Now, as an engineer, if you don't know what lithosphere, atmosphere and hydrosphere mean, how can you develop a technology? So that's the purpose of this particular paper, to make you first of all understand what lithosphere, atmosphere and hydrosphere mean. Now that you know what lithosphere, atmosphere and hydrosphere mean, you can developed such technologies which are going to be assimilating. What does assimilation mean? It should be a technology which is going to be mixing well with lithosphere, atmosphere, and hydrosphere. It should be eco-friendly. Very simple term for this is your technology should be something that is assimilating with lithosphere or atmosphere or hydrosphere, or it should be eco-friendly. Both of them mean the same. So what is an eco-friendly technology mean? An eco-friendly technology is such a technology which has excellent assimilating capacity with the components of the environment like lithosphere, atmosphere, and hydrosphere. I hope you are understanding. Right. Environmental engineers, this is the last slide of lecture 1. You can see environmental engineers design the different processes to handle large volumes of pollutants with the principles of optimization, socio-economic effects, rapid treatment to convert any objectionable material to less objectionable material. You have to develop such a technologies which are converting objectionable material to less objectionable material. Right? For example, tomorrow you are given a challenge as an engineer. You are given a challenge to convert the liquid waste or solid waste or any pollutant into something that is useful. You have to develop such technologies which can develop wealth from the waste. For example, a lot of such examples are there. For example, you can develop technology which can convert solid waste into paper, solid waste into fuel, or liquid waste into fuel. You can convert any waste into something that is useful for the society. And as an engineer, you have to do such things. You have to do your innovative experimentations on such things and help the environment get protected. Next point, environmental engineers also keep in mind to protect natural resources from the effects of disposal of hazardous wastes, toxic chemicals, and radioactive wastes. So you have to keep in mind to protect these natural resources from any of the effects of any of the wastes. And environmental engineers have a special role of having good coordination with other technocrats and engineers to make rapid advancement in cleaning up the environment with eco-friendly techniques. Now you are going to work with many other engineers, many other technocrats, because it is not in one person's specialization to develop something, right? For example, if you want to develop a waste management plant, right? I will give an example. If you want to develop a waste management plant, a mechanical engineer might be useful in designing the machine. An automobile engineer might be useful in developing motors and required kind of motors in that, or different tools for processing of the waste. So mechanical and automobile can be together working for development of machines. A triple E engineer might be developing circuits or developing sensors. An ECE engineer also might be developing sensors. They might be useful for giving the program, or the development of the required components of the electricity boards or whatever that is being used there. Right? In a layman language, I am explaining you. Please try to understand in a technical way. A civil engineer might be useful for designing the plant. Right? The entire plant design and construction may be done by a civil engineer. Right? An IS engineer might be useful, or IS or a CS engineer might be useful for developing a program. Right? You are going to develop an app. You are going to develop the entire requirement which can be remote controlled. Right? You are going to develop a program. So in a layman way, I have explained this. If you see, for this plant, this waste management plant, every specialization has contributed. Right? So it is not in one person's hand to develop a huge technology. It has to be a collaborative development done by interdisciplinary knowledge that is being developed. A biotechnologist might be useful for giving the required bacteria for processing the waste, or giving the required chemicals for processing the waste. He might be developing a catalyst for developing the or processing the waste. A chemical engineer might be useful for developing a fermenter. right? So on. If you keep taking examples here, every engineer has a contribution, and all of you, as I said, do have a role to play in contributing for the betterment of the environment. The last point, basic challenging role of an environmental engineer is to make public aware about the environmental degradation, and also to impart training in such a way so that the people participate in the programs of keeping the environment clean. So friends, you are going to be a, a, an engineer who has the technical skills for the betterment of the environment, but you also have a role to play in making the public aware. So as an environmental engineer, you cannot be silent. Once you develop that knowledge, you have to spread it around. You have to make people get aware about the problem, and you have to make them participate in different social activities in keeping the environment clean, right? Unless and until everybody participates and helps or contributes their bit for the betterment of the environment, it is not going to be possible for a single person to protect the environment. So who else can be better than an engineer for giving the required technical solutions for the environmental problems? And that is the purpose of this particular paper being introduced. So friends, I'm going to stop here. This is lecture number 1 for this course. I hope you all have understood, and if you have not understood anything, you can please contact me over the Google Classroom or my WhatsApp number. And next class, we are going to discuss about the ecosystem and the structure of the